Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened around Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Is Ukraine finished? $9 billion loan from US. Putin openly threatens UK. About last night. Crimean dream Tuna. Third camp for Russian prisoners. New artillery plant in Texas. How far can we go? Journalist Leza Hazeldin wrote an article entitled "Ukraine known it is finished," and then the title was urgently changed to "Without Western armaments, Ukraine may only have months left." Careful readers noticed the substitution. I found both links for you, they will be in the description. This is an example of bad journalism and clickbait. And yes, I used this clickbait trick in the description to attract attention just to say, this is a cheap trick, this cannot be done in such a sensitive context. As a result, people only get disappointment, Lisa. So no, Ukraine is not over. We are not going to give up and give Putin our lands and our history as presents. We are not asking to send your soldiers to war. Just give us weapons and we will do everything ourselves. As our soldiers wrote on this wall. The Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine and the United States government announced the details on agreement worth $9.4 billion, which is part of those $60 billion that we could not agree for 6 months. So we know that 10 out of 60 will get as a loan. I talked about this in one of my recent videos. Give us a loan, don't give us presents. And now the decision has been announced. What's the trick? I don't understand why the opponents of this $60 billion package in Congress prevented us from lending money. You are not taking dollars away from America's working class. You're making a profitable investment for yourself and it takes so long to decide. Emotions aside, what we have. $7.8 billion will be allocated to the state budget of Ukraine. These are salaries to employees, pensions, payments to the wounded and families of deceased soldiers. Not buying Maybachs for president's family, relax. Up to $50 million will go to food security. I don't know the details yet. Conditions. We will receive this money as an interest-free loan for a period of 40 years and after that we must return it in one payment. In 2026, the next president of the United States, whoever it may be, may at his discretion write off this debt. Okay, let's return this money to the US budget from Russian money that is frozen. I hope that within 40 years we will be able to unlock them. If not, I'm ready to pay my part, $235 based on the population of Ukraine, 40 million of people. It will cost me $5.8 a year, and I pay twice as much for iCloud. Thank you USA, now give us a credit for purchases in your military store for $300 billion, it will be cool. Tyrant's threat. Vladimir Putin threatens all-out war if Ukraine uses Western weapons to hit Russia is the headline of an article by Sun newspaper, which describes Putin's threat to Great Britain. I'll leave a link under the video, also there is not much information, but the word in itself warned countries with small territory and dense populations if Western weapons were used by Ukraine to strike Russia sounds, what would they call it? Comment please. Russians are literally at presidential level saying if you dare to defend yourself against our nightly missile attacks on residential buildings in Ukraine, we can launch attacks on residential buildings in Europe. If I personally would have heard of this before 21st of February when the first missiles flew to Kyiv, I would not have believed it. Until that, I didn't believe that this was even possible. My idea was this: the whole world has been seeing Putin's troops in Belarus for 2 weeks now. You have to be the last idiot to launch the offensive that everyone expects. Surprise! This time I have to say, no matter how strange it may sound, believe Putin, he believes in his impunity and he lies about everything except the murder plan. Last night was tense. From 3:30 a.m. to 5 a.m. I sat behind 2 walls in the corridor because of the missiles and drones that were flying towards Kyiv. Our air defense fighters shot down 7 out of 11 missiles and all 32 Shahed drones. This is a very good stat, but 4 missiles that hit the target is still terrible. Yes, I understand that we cannot shoot down 100% of missiles. No one in the world can, but damn how I missed the time when the night was calm and safe. By the way, I was out at night only once after the start of a full-scale invasion, and those times when me and my friends could spend the night by the fire on the beach of the Azov Sea in Mariupol seemed like something from someone else's life. Thank you, air defense. Thank you that I'm alive. It was also a tense night in the occupied Crimea, especially for the remnants of the Russian fleet. According to reports from Ukrainian intelligence and from the news, in just one night the legendary maritime drones Magura 5, controlled by the Group 13 squad, destroyed and damaged 4 Russian ships and 2 ferries. In this video you can see how intensely everything happened. It's still unusual for me that we can almost in real time watch our drones sink Russian ships. The only thing missing here is a joystick, and I'm sure that some developer has already started thinking about a computer game based on the stories of Ukrainian naval drones. This country has a golden trident on its coat of arms for a reason. A third camp for Russian prisoners of war has opened on the territory of Ukraine. From this news it can be understood that there are at least 2 camps in which there is no longer room. These people were captured or surrendered themselves under the I Want to Live program, which our side launched at the beginning of this war. The problem of prisoners of war in general is one of the biggest ones. Russia doesn't exchange their prisoners and doesn't give up Ukrainians. The situation is also influenced by the fact that Russian prisoners of war have all the human rights, which are monitored by representatives of international organizations, the Red Cross, the UN, and others. Captured Russians can rest assured that they are under protection of international laws. They are not tortured, not humiliated, they are given the opportunity to call home to Russia, and they are gradually getting fatter in our prisons, while defenders of Ukraine do not have medical care, eat bread with water, and when we manage to exchange them, they arrive minus 30 to 40 kilograms thinner and very ill. That's just terrible, and I cannot understand why torture and humiliate people who are in captivity. He doesn't fight, he gave up his weapons to save his life. Don't fight unarmed. And then we see videos of beatings, we see Russians shooting unarmed prisoners on camera, we see killed civilians with their hands tied behind their backs. This is another attempt to break people and force them into submission. My friends who were released from captivity tell terrible stories in the best traditions of the Gulag. So many years have passed, but the essence of Russian prisons has not changed. There is a little hope that it will be possible to agree on an exchange program all for all. This is what the families of prisoners live with without even the opportunity to talk on the phone. Russia understands this sore point and is trying to raise the price of its cards in this way. The main thing is to remember who the aggressor is and why this is happening. A new plant for the production of artillery shells, which will be sent to Ukraine in military aid packages, has begun operation in the state of Texas. The New York Times reports that the General Dynamics plant will provide 350 new jobs for Americans and currently has a starting capacity of 30,000 shells per month. They aim to reach the production of up to 100,000 artillery shells per month until the end of 2025. Plants in Scranton and Wilkes-Barre together produce about 36,000 shells per month, and another plant is being built in Camden. Mark, this is what I said during the approval of $60 billion military aid package. The US government is creating hundreds of jobs, purchasing American building materials and technologies in order to build factories with the help of American builders. And all this also contributes taxes to the country's budget. The manufacturer will pay taxes on each projectile produced. This is not charity in the usual form, but an investment in your interest and protection of your values. The American people certainly do not suffer or become poorer from helping Ukraine, no matter what opponents say. Yesterday's news about Sweden's transfer of long-range radar aircrafts to Ukraine did not really please Russians, and they drew this graph to show what range these aircrafts will see. In combination with F-16s, this zone may become a no-fly zone for them, as happened with the Kyiv region after transferring to us a whole collection of air defense from the whole world. On this map, Russians draw how far Ukraine can reach with Western weapons when we leave the restriction question from the United States. As you understand, if Russian propagandists started talking about bad news on air, it means 2 things. This news cannot be prevented and must be told about in advance. This is really important news for them. That's all I wanted to tell you today. There was some more news, but there are too little details yet, and I don't want to tell you 2 lines of text and 10 lines of water. This was my update on the Russian-Ukrainian war for day number 827. Take care and see you tomorrow.